And sober analysis about things that matter to you and the ones you love. This is where you turn. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
What is the world coming to? Seems like everyone is running from the truth. We just stand up and fight, walk into the night. We're the people, we can do it if we try. I know we can do it. Somebody ask me, why do we have to go through it? It's just a test of our faith. But we're living day to day. We don't know where, we don't know when. But he's coming back again. Oh, yes, he is. It's late in the evening. Oh, God, it's time for you to return. Oh, see. I know. Time to make a change.
Oh, yeah, it's that time again. Always time to make that change. I am Nina Turner here with the wonderful, incredible Dr. Cornel West. You are listening to Truth Time. Doc, we're going to explore some things today. So we know that the Trump administration is pushing to try to really erase the history of Black people in this country and by extension, other marginalized folks. But this may be proven difficult for him to do. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And there are a lot of folks on the community side and also on the academic side who are doing things differently, maybe not directly through their institutions, but in communities. And that is really how Black folks actually learned from one another and lifted our respective history. Black artists, Black educators, Black leaders, Black activists, Black people are finding ways to learn more about our history. And in some ways, what they meant for evil may actually turn out for good. And then why the Met Gala celebration for Black dandyism matters for this moment. Our style, our swag always matters. We are the most emulated people on the face of the planet. Before we get to those topics and many more, the doctor is in the house. Dr. West, what is on your heart, your soul, and your mind?
My dear sister, I'm full of joy anytime I'm in conversation with you. We're going to talk about Black style and dandyism. And yes, we're going to talk about how it is impossible to erase Black history. There have been efforts for 400 years to do that, and every effort has failed. And one of the reasons why it has failed is because we are living history. You can't wipe out living history. History is not in a book. History is not in a library or a museum. History is when you see Jamal walking with style and Letitia smiling, and you see a sparkle in her face, singing a song, writing a poem, or herself loving her children. That's what history is. And so let us first call into question this claim about omnipotence, and somehow people have the power to erase history. No, not at all. But at the same time, it means that we need a spiritual awakening and a moral renaissance so that we live our history in such a way that people will know it can never be erased. And what is spiritual reckoning? What awakening? What is moral renaissance? It is an explosion of self-love, self-respect, self-regard. It is an explosion of self-determination and self-defense. It is an explosion of grace and dignity being enacted and embodied in the Black world every day, every moment. And so anytime I hear this talk about, well, they banned another book. They banned a book, but they ain't banned our energy. They haven't banned our fire. They haven't banned our determination. They haven't banned our vision. They haven't banned our love of our children. Now, if we ourselves no longer are living a history grounded in the best of our visions, the best of our efforts at self-determination, then we can end up consenting to the waning of a Black history. 'Cause you can have a lot of Black folk around, but have no connection to the best of their history, and they end up being spiritual zombies, just fitting in and assimilated and amalgamated into a white mainstream, such that Martin Luther King Jr. and Fannie Lou Hamer and Nina Simone and others are forgotten, completely overlooked. That's the kind of focus we need to have in terms of a spiritual awakening, moral renaissance with political courage to tell the truth, not about white supremacy, but about predatory capitalist processes. Imperial
I'm with it, Doc.
Oh,
I'm with it. Spiritual awakening, moral renaissance, coupled with political courage. And you're right. You know, Fred Hampton said something to the effect, you could try to kill the revolutionary, but you can never kill the revolution. And that's pretty much what you're saying. Unless we give up and give in and give out, that's when it's over. But just having some leader that wants to be an authoritarian to try to dictate what's taught formally, that ain't gonna change it.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And let us be honest. I mean, they talk about banning these books, and they're wrong, and we got to fight it. But then we got to raise the question, when's the last time we took our children to the library and read them a book? When's the last time we've immersed ourselves in books? We ourselves have to be enactments of the history. We're not spectators of something in the past. That's not what history is. History is lived in the present, and the pastness of the present makes the present what it is, and there is no future unless the best of our history is inside of us in the present to authorize a better future. That's
Yeah.
time always past, present, and future.
We always live, especially us as a people, based on the past, the present, and the future. You cannot uncouple any of those. They're all connected, like that quilt is there. All them pieces coming together. And the enactment of history. That in some ways, when I said what they meant for evil is going to turn out for good, Black people are more in tuned now. And maybe we will start to do collectively and communally the things that we should have always done, which is to never lose our connection to the past, the present, and the future, to begin to be the teachers and the griots in our own community, and not waiting for somebody to do it formally in a classroom. That part right there. Listen, when we come forward, Dr. West and I are going to continue. You're listening to Truth Time.
Speaking truth to power. To the powerless. This is Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. If you missed our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall, the Altadena Eden Fire, 100 Days and Counting, you missed an evening of reverence, reflection, and reality.
You gotta live in the reality, because this is it. Every day, you wake up, is this my life? Don't stay in denial, because yes, it is. Don't stay in bargaining, where you're praying for a miracle, and if it wouldn't have happened, then this is what I would have done. It did.
Our panel participants kept it real. Really real.
I think, number one, it's amazing to me how we ignore systemic racism in our community. And as a people, we've apologized for so much, but when will we stop apologizing for what we have paid for? Because the truth of the matter is, we paid for this.
You can always count on KBLA Talk 1580 to give it to you straight, no chaser. When you love folk, you tell them the truth. Seeking the truth, speaking the truth. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
Can your pad absorb everything and stay fresh? Always Radiant with Flex Foam can. Get up to 0 leaks, 0 odor, and 0 feel, because Flex Foam is the only pad with a flexible foam core. You heard me, foam. Always Radiant is so thin, it feels like nothing, yet protects like nothing else. Can your pad do that? For up to 100% leak-free protection, try Always Radiant to see what Flex Foam can do for you.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Hereeth my Discover card. They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Get it? With the times.
With the times?
You're playing the lute. Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
To thine own self be true. More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner coming your way right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
Always be true to you, because you can't be true to anybody else unless you're true to you first. But that spiritual awakening, that moral renaissance wrapped in political courage, do you think the fact that the Trump administration is going so hard centering an anti-Black sentiment? I mean, there's no doubt about that as they try to erode the teaching of Black history, the true teaching of America's history, that other marginalized communities are getting swept up in that. There's a loss of a sense of the good, the bad, and the ugly. But on the other side of that, the positive nature in this pain point, that there's, in other words, there's promise in this problem. And it is a problem to try to rewrite history.
Oh, and you're making a powerful point. It may be that the vicious attack on us and our history will lead us to wake up more quickly and therefore to intensify our own. And it's interesting when you think about woke and all these attacks on woke. You know, you want to say to folk, so are you in defense of sleepwalking?
I love when you say that.
Denial? Are you in defense of the ostrich keeping his or her head in the sand? Is that what people mean when they attack woke? Now, we can understand that they may be critical of certain practices associated with woke. If you know, you don't want to be, mistreating folk and so forth. No, that's wrong. There's no doubt about that. But if it's a matter of the quest for truth and people have no interest in the truth, therefore they're anti-woke and they're anti-truth. Oh, wait a minute. When Martin King and the others talk about it's time to wake up, they were saying it's time to acknowledge you're living in a racist society that's been lynching and degrading and enslaving Black people for 200 and some years. And if you don't wake up, you're going to lose your society. That's what Martin was saying. So folks, no, I can't stand being woke. I want to go back to sleep. So you want to go back to the denial? Oh, so what are we talking about? Let's be very clear in this regard. And I think that we have to continually say that over and over and over again.
And that you're making many critical points. The main one, are you in defense of sleepwalking? So, because you're right, just very simply, what is the opposite of not being woke is being asleep.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, just reminding our audience how the terminology of being woke was co-opted by neoliberals, bastardized by them, because that is not originally for the Black vernacular, for the Black experience. Woke meant keep your head on a swivel. Woke meant don't get caught asleep as you're laying out because your very life might be in danger. But let me go on and read it, just kind of how it's laid out here. Woke is an adjective derived from African-American English used since the 1930s or earlier to refer to awareness or racial prejudice and discrimination, often in the construction stay woke. The term acquired political connotations by the 1970s and gained further popularities in the 2000s. So for Black people, woke has always meant you got to have a consciousness about your surroundings to stay physically safe first and foremost. In a more broad sense, to be woke, to be aware of where you are physically, mentally, and spiritually in these United States of America. And it is unfortunate that neoliberals then used it to expand in other territories, that it was never meant from the Black vernacular standpoint, and thereby given an opening for these conservatives and these anti-woke people by any measure to co-opt it and to use it in a negative way. So again, Black folks being sacrificed on the altar once again at the hands of neoliberals and used by these conservative MAGA people.
No, you broke it down. You broke it down. That the woke emerged in the black context. It had to do with shattering callousness, shattering indifference, and shattering cowardliness. It had to do with unleashing quest for truth.
That's right. That's right. And I got to tell you, I'm disturbed. I'm really upset that it's being used in this way, and because people who did not respect us on either side of this have found a way to make this a negative term. It was meant for Black people to stay alive, literally, literally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And now all of a sudden, being woke, even if you understand it in a more expansive way, is all of a sudden something bad. There's something disturbing about that.
And of course, even the right wing, though, they find themselves in a double bind, because
Yes,
they say, okay, that we're going to fight this wokeness. We're anti-woke, which means way they are saying we need to be woke about anti-wokeness. So it's just another form of wokeness anyway. And the question then becomes, well, if you're woke or anti-woke, what are you woke about and what are you anti-woke about?
that's it.
That becomes a question. Now, it sounds like a logical paradox, but it's just a matter of concrete reality. Either you acknowledge people's suffering, you acknowledge their humanity, and you think something ought to be done about it, or you're in denial about it and you don't think anything should be done. Whatever should be done fairly, should be done justly across the board, but something must be done.
Something must be done. And something so beautiful as being woke. Even if I put the attachment to Black culture and Black consciousness in the parking lot for just a minute, they ain't gonna stay there long. To your point, do you want to sleepwalk? Another point to be made is, what though inherently is wrong with being woke, though? Seriously.
Now, I must admit, when the younger generation talked about me being woke about 15 years ago, and I said, well, as an older brother, I'm not going to suffer from insomnia, which means I ain't going to take a nap. I'm going to get me some sleep. I got to stay fortified. See, for me, that's always been my slogan: stay fortified, not stay woke. Everybody need to take a nap and go sleep sometime. Folks stay woke for 25 years. They not highly reliable comrades. They may sleep on you right in the middle of battle because you ain't got they've been woke for too long. Get some sleep, mother. Mother, shut your mouth. So
so we need some highly fortified comrades. In some senses, even in the art world, which you always bring up music so beautifully, Sister Erica Badu, her track Master Teacher, featured the words by Georgia Ann Muldrow, is widely credited with reintroducing the whole notion of stay woke to the modern lexicon. We making some major points here, Doc. Wokeness has always been a part of the consciousness of Black people because we had to. So whatever our ancestors was calling it in the 18th century, the 17th century, the 16th century, it was always some version of the notion of wokeness. But in terms of modern day, they're saying, the Legal Defense Fund put out that Erykah Badu's her track from 2008, Master Teacher, is widely credited with reintroducing stay woke to the modern lexicon. However, Watson believed it was Badu's use of the phrase on Twitter while advocating for the freedom of Russian feminist protesters that ultimately helped propel woke in a 21st century way around the globe.
No, that's real. And Erykah Badu, she's got the spirit of Nina Simone in her, and she recognizes that to stay woke is to always be fortified, be ready for truth telling, Be ready for courageous witness. Be ready for fighting and resisting. And when you are fighting, you got to not just be woke, you need powers of discernment.
That part.
Absolutely. So it's not just a matter of woke, you need to get your eyes together. And you got to feel deeply. You got to get your heart together. And you got to fight sincerely. You got to get your soul together. So that, woke is just that first step toward Ephesians 6. And Ephesians 6 ain't just stay woke, it's put on the whole armor. See, grandmama got it more right than almost anybody I know. She go back to her Bible, I go back to my Bible and say, put on the whole armor. And I think Erykah Badu would agree. And of course, I think Nina Simone would agree too.
Yeah, so that you are able to withstand the wiles of the devil, of the enemy, of the spirits of opposite that want to take people down. I mean, that's it, Doc. And so now to some extent, not to some extent, we know that woke now is being used in a very negative connotation. They use it to stand in for diversity, equity, inclusion. Is used to stand in for Black Lives Matter. Is used to stand in for critical race theory. You name it. And all of those things add up to one thing: anti-Black.
Well, in a way that kind of focus on us means that we still constitute a threat. That we're not inconsequential. You see, if you're an inconsequential people, then ain't nobody paying attention to you. Ain't nobody even caring whether you there or not. But if they targeting you at the highest levels of government, trying to erase your history, trying to break your spirit, trying to undermine your fire, all that means is that they still fear you. Even if it's a form of hatred, it's still a matter of we trying to control you, trying to subjugate you. They understand that Black people at our best, with love in our heart and commitment to freedom in our soul, yes, we do constitute a threat to lives. We constitute a threat to crimes. We constitute a threat to oppression. So in a funny kind of way, it's a compliment.
Yeah, that part, Doc. We are relevant. we, we are more relevant than what we understand. And it is true that we are, especially from a popular culture standpoint, the most emulated people on the planet. Nobody even close. Now, I said from a popular culture standpoint, and I could also add in from a social, political liberation context, we are the most emulated people on the face of the planet, because as marginalized people fight for their dignity and justice, they almost always look to the fight of Black people for liberation at various times in our sojourn on this soil.
That's true. That's true. I mean, the challenge has always been that the genius in our music, in our styles, the genius in our art is so difficult to translate into institutional capacity for freedom, and it's so difficult to translate into the same level of courageous political leadership. If we had political leaders who were as free as Erykah Badu, we'd have been free a long time ago.
Yes, sir.
4 political leaders who were half as free as Nina Simone or Curtis Mayfield, we would have been more free a long time ago. Now, that's not to say that we don't have any political leaders who are free. We do have a few, but we got a whole lot of musicians. We got a whole lot of folk with style and smile who are free in terms of their art and in terms of their style, but we don't have it in political leadership or in institutional form and capacity. That's the challenge that we have.
It's a very big challenge, Doc. And to add to that, what we must be concerned about is the manipulation of the term woke, and to use it in such a detrimental way impacts policy. I mean, you have people like Governor DeSantis, as you probably remember, and all these other Republicans that have lots of power. criminalizing in many ways woke, and they're proud to be anti-woke. And how then does that translate into public policy that impacts not only the African American community, but the entire nation writ large? We don't want no woke policies. Well, is wanting people to have health care a woke policy? Not wanting people to put insulin on credit cards or ration their insulin? Is that a woke policy? Wanting people to have a living wage? Oh, I guess that's woke policy too. So what started off to be meant for evil for just solely Black people, whenever the system comes after Black people, it ain't for too long before they're coming after everybody else.
Or at least poor and working people.
Poor and working class, absolutely. Always. And sometimes poor and working class people from other ethnic and or racial groups, even though race is a social construct, put that in the parking lot, they don't always realize that Black people continue to be the canary in the coal mine. When we come forward, we will continue this conversation. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. I guess we staying for it.
Right.
Yeah, we'll stay right here. But yeah, the fact that some people don't recognize that attacks on Black people in this way, they think it's just about us until it comes knocking at their door.
Exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And that's part of the callousness that we were talking about, you see.
Yeah, very much, very callous. Absolutely. Just the lack of humanity, it's quite disturbing. And you and I will be wrestling with this for a long time. We've been wrestling with it before our magnificent show, and we continue to wrestle with it because the level of hatred that it takes to have a whole system bend to ensure that one group of people does not rise. That is quite chilling, Doc. Very, very chilling. Listen, you're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and yours truly. When we come forward, we'll try this again. We're going to continue this conversation.
The truth will set you free, but first it might raise your blood pressure.
I'm not driving you, baby.
More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Tensions flared outside of a Grand Rapids, Michigan courthouse as protesters clashed during jury deliberations in the trial of ex-officer Christopher Shore, charged with killing a Black man, Patrick Lyoya.
I think that they are really weighing the options and the facts, and I really, truly hope that they come up with something soon.
The jury is deadlocked, but was told to keep trying. One person was arrested. Jurors are in deliberations today in the Tyree Nichols murder trial. 3 former Memphis officers are charged with beating him to death back in 2023. That was caught on video. None of the former officers testified. And the Lending Tree survey shows 77% of parents say raising kids is more expensive than expected, with nearly half having fewer children due to costs. The average cost to raise a child now is nearly $300,000, up 36% in 2 years. A $5,000 baby bonus is reportedly under consideration. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Another day for Lakers Nation to circle on your calendar. August 2nd is the day Luka Doncic becomes eligible to sign a 4-year extension worth $229 million. The Lakers are not obligated to give Doncic an extension. Doncic has 1 year left on his current contract that averages $53.7 million. The Lakers might want to see how Doncic is handling his offseason conditioning program before agreeing to give him an extension. One of the reasons Doncic is with the Lakers is because the Dallas Mavericks did not feel comfortable giving Doncic a super max extension worth $345 million. If Doncic was still with Dallas, he would have been eligible for that deal on August 2nd. Interesting development in the NBA playoffs. The road teams are 5-0 in the second round of the playoffs. Indiana, New York, Denver, and Golden State started their second round series with road wins. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. With so many shows on our station weekdays and weekends, it's hard for me to keep track of all the guests who are actually in studio on any given day. I wish I'd known in advance that LADA Nathan Hochman was coming in studio for a recent interview. Had I known, I would have loved to have personally greeted him and then asked him why LA City Council member Curran Price is being criminally prosecuted for allegations of misconduct similar to the conflict of interest violations for which former City Council member Kevin De Leon is only being fined. What's that about, Mr. DA? In fairness to Mr. Hochman, it was former DA George Gascon who actually filed felony charges against Councilman Price. I opined then on how these criminal charges against Price did not pass the smell test. I was concerned then that this was yet another wayward prosecution of a high-profile black elected, not to mention a waste of taxpayer money. I am even more convinced now that this is a hot mess. To be clear, neither you or I want a bunch of self-serving, greedy, conflict of interest criminals managing the people's business inside LA City Hall. But we also don't want selective or targeted prosecution of black politicians. We've seen that movie before, and we don't need a sequel. It's hard to watch Kevin De Leon get away with paying an $18,000 fine for repeated ethics violations, what he calls an oversight, and at the same time, watch the DA's office continue its criminal prosecution of Curran Price for issues allegedly involving his wife's clients. Motions, I might add, that were passed unanimously by the LA City Councilman. What are you saying, Tavis? I'm glad you asked. DA Hochman did not start this inquisition, but he certainly has the power to stop it. I have said it before, and I will say it again. Fundamental fairness. In the absence of fundamental fairness, we experience a cascade of deteriorating conditions. The erosion of trust, the weakening of social cohesion, alienation, marginalization, the legitimacy of authority diminishes, cynicism and disengagement grow, and ultimately, people abandon civic participation altogether. Fundamental fairness, Mr. Hochman, that's all we ask. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Yes, we are. Love and Truth is the place that Dr. West and I hang out a lot. We are loving it. Doc, about this time, you know what we do? We go to our live chat on the tube, and we are so thankful to our viewers, our audience, for the folks who are on here on a regular basis, building strong community, not just with us, Doc, but one to another. So I'm about to get this party started. Mr. Morris Phillips, good afternoon, Senator Turner and Dr. West. Thank you for your courage. And we thank him for his courage as well, Doc.
That's very kind of him.
Yeah, we got H. Dorvilius. Good afternoon, Dr. West. Morris Phillips again. Dr. West, you must be talking about Burkina Faso, Africa, self-determination. Did I pronounce his name properly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there are two questions in there while we're on him, Doc. Let me just go on and jump to that. Blessed Peacemaker is in that same lane. Senator Turner, please ask Dr. West and give us your insights too about Traore of Burkina Faso, please. The U.S. is wanting to take out yet another African leader working for his people. And we got quite a few questions in that vein. And that's Blessed Peacemaker, by the way.
Peacemaker really has a fine focus on what is going on, not just in Africa, but that particular part of Africa. Because, going back to the Berlin Conference of 1883 and the scramble for Africa and the in colonial and imperial attempt to subsume not just African lands, but African leaders under their aegis, under their authority. And it goes on to this day. People think that the struggle against imperialism was over because we now have African leaders over African nations. No, that's not true. You can have African leaders who themselves are subordinate to imperial powers. And the people are still yearning for self-determination, especially poor and working people are yearning for self-determination. And the use of Afrikaan as a strategy of the American empire to expand and extend U.S. imperial power in Africa over its resources, land, and peoples is something that you and I have talked about on this show. And it's something that that we need to zero in on. And in the particular instance that they have, we have another African leader who was so easily subordinating himself to U.S. imperial interests in order to suppress the authentic and genuine yearnings of the self-determination of an African people.
Yeah, and even some of that we touched on a little bit in yesterday's show about in Rwanda wanting to get some of the contracts to lock up other people's people, immigrants. And so you're going to ship them not only just to El Salvador, but you're going to ship these people all the way to Rwanda on the continent of Africa. I mean, what kind of sickness? Geopolitical sickness.
Oh, no, but it takes you back to the 19th century. Takes you back to the 19th century. And in some ways to the 18th century. Remember, Australia itself was founded by convicts who were pushed out of Britain and were used as settlers to subordinate indigenous peoples in Australia. The very state of Georgia in the United States has the same history. So that you can see history repeating itself, not in close imitation, because it's different historical circumstances now than it was in the 18th and 19th century, but it is repeating itself in terms of the domination.
Yeah, the pattern remains the same.
That's right.
Yeah, go ahead and teach, teacher. So Morris Phillips and Blessed Peacemaker, hope that gets closer. We got H. Dorvilius again. Hello. How are you, Senator Nina Turner? I am mighty fine, H. Dorvilius, and I hope you are mighty fine as well. We got B. Bell of Bad Talk Bullies. Turns out whitewashing doesn't actually make you clean.
Ooh, that's powerful.
Ain't that deep? Go ahead, B. Bell. And B. Bell says, good afternoon, fam. B. Bell is really doing that thing. Peace and grace, my KBLA peeps. All of that, all the love, and then the inner conversation between everybody with one another, just not directed towards us, Dr. West. We got Daryl Evans. Hi, Dr. West and Senator Nina Turner. Hope you both are well. And we are hoping the same thing for you. And then Blessed Peacemaker has a recommendation for a book. If anyone wants to get woke about the U.S. empire, check out The New Confessions of an Economic Hitman and the Jarkata Method. Dr. West, have you read either of those?
No, I haven't read those books. You see, we just get educated by our listeners all the time.
Yeah, we are. This is reciprocal. It's not just us. So again, those two recommendations are The New Confessions of an Economic Hitman and the Jarkata Method. Yeah, we're going to check those out, Blessed Peacemaker. Thank you so much for that. And then Daniel Samir Kairan, Dr. West got me busting up. Me too, Daniel. All the time. Me too. Oh, Proster John. I miss Nina's glasses. I'm gonna have to bring them back, y'all. Sometimes people don't even recognize me sometimes, Doc, without my glasses. A lot of people, because I've worn them for so long, that's their preference. That's how they know it's really, really me. So I got to bring my glasses back.
Put them back on.
Definitely so much. So, Doc, Ronnie Thomas, anti-Black is a real situation we face daily here in America, a topic that is overdue. And I thank you all for your service in telling the truth.
No, we in it together.
We are. And I mean, we wish it were not true. Honestly, we do. They acting like we want this to be true. We don't. But it is true, and we got to keep raising it up. Terrence Allen Duncan, peace and blessings, leaders. And peace and blessings back to you. All of that good stuff. So, Doc, we are in a deep moment, for our lifetime. And of course, there are generations that have spanned several decades where they're able to take a glimpse at times when in their childhood and young adulthood to what is happening now. And then we got generations who've never experienced anything like this before. Again, Gen X is the first generation that did not have to live under legalized. It's still happening, in fact, de facto, but not in de jure, legalized segregation, and because of the Civil Rights Act and also the Voting Rights Act. But that's not that long ago. That those are people who are under the age of 60. That puts a finer point on what you and I talk about on the regular basis in terms of understanding the impact of anti-Blackness, the impact of trying to stop Black people from having full liberation, and how it has serious consequences for everybody. And one of the reasons why we need to continue to lift up that history. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. When we come forward, Dr. West's thoughts on all of that.
It's Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. S&P volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an S&P open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caspvolunteer.org. Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
The Comedy Connection series featuring KBLA's Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady. We're going to transform relationship disasters into stand-up material live at Inglewood's Miracle Theater on May 31st at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My clinical team will disclose all of your dating woes, while the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady, has hand-selected supremely talented comedians to roast all of our tragic relationship choices. I dare you to bring your ex's phone number, because Ray, he's going to text it live, and the crowd will be sourcing emojis. Tickets are moving swiftly, so don't hesitate to grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before I diagnose your dating history as a pre-existing condition.
KBLA Talk 1580 and the California Black Chamber of Commerce invite you to the Small Business Development Workshop, How to Do Business with California Government. On Thursday, May 15th at Victory Park in Pasadena, 2575 Paloma Street. Get certified and register as a new bidder. Sell products and services to the state. Learn about pre-bid events and more. And it's all free. All you have to do is sign up at www.calbcc.org. That's www.calbcc.org. Registration for the Small Business Development Workshop, How to Do Business with California Government, begins at 9 a.m. and the workshop concludes at 1 p.m. on Thursday, May 15th at Victory Park in Pasadena, 2575 Paloma Street. This is a community call to action from the California Black Chamber of Commerce and KBLA Talk 1580. Truth crushed to earth shall rise again. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank God for that, and thank God for each and every one of you. If you missed any part of today's show or shows in the past, please download the KBLA app. You got to do that for us. And all the amazing shows. You know, our dear brother, Jesse Jackson, comes up right after us. So make sure that you stay in the house. Just a few more comments that really feed into, you know, the more that not only just the Trump administration, but even some governors before President Trump got his second chance at this White House were trying to minimize the history of Black people. I think the more that folks like DeSantis and others push back against our history, the more we want to make sure that more people learn about it. In other words, when you think everything is okay, you just kind of lay back. But when you're under attack, it provokes a certain type of response. And I think that response is for not just only the African-American community, but people who understand what is happening here to say, oh, no, not on our watch. We're going to teach it regardless. It might be in my friend's basement, Big Mama's basement, the basement of a church or a mosque, but this history will be taught.
Absolutely. In the end, it has to do with truth and justice. You see, that we want to teach the truth. Let's tell the truth about the country and its own weak will to truth when it comes to Black people being treated justly.
Yeah, always.
Fear of and the denial of justice go hand in hand.
That's a word, Doc, that preaches all day long. We got Macau. Dr. West, Senator Turner, have you already discussed the allegations against Smokey Robinson? No, we have not. That is not this kind of show. We're not doing that. But I wanted to make sure that I read that because I want our viewers to know we will take the hard questions. I have not been keeping up with those allegations either, and it doesn't fit with the mode of this show. But thank you for raising that. P Black 3, the Berlin Conference was in 1884 to 1885, not in 1883.
Oh, well, appreciate that. Corrected. Pray for me.
Yeah. Pray for us all. I love that. Please, anytime if Dr. West and I mistakenly get something wrong, let us know. We ain't too proud. we receive it. So thank you for that. And then we have Miss Gibbs. I think it's just Chandra Gibbs. Ask absolutely, you two beautiful souls. Dr. West, we share a mutual friend, my pastor, Dr. Stanley Tolbert.
Oh, the one and only Stanley Tolbert, PhD, Union Theological Seminary, the last student of the great James Cone, the founder of Black Liberation Theology, and his church right there on Normandy in LA. And he's also a distinguished professor at Pepperdine University with my beloved Anahita, graduated at least a PhD is another place. But yeah, Stanley's a special brother. He really, you know Brother Stanley, though, don't you?
I do. We're not close, but I definitely know of his greatness.
Absolutely. He's one of his generation. He really is.
Oh, thank you, Sister Gibbs, for bringing that out. We appreciate that so much. And so, Doc, what kind of encouragement, though, can we are always concentrating on encouraging people in this moment, really to keep on keeping on, despite what the powers that be ultimately try to do to deter us. And the teaching of American history in all of its forms is important for our growth. You know, as a not just as a people, as a Black people, but also as a country. You got to know from whence you came, as James Baldwin so eloquently laid out, to be able to know exactly where we're going to go. Doc, hold that thought. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. When we come forward, the doctor will speak.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. The Live Your Life organization mentors young women, helping them break negative mindsets and see beyond their surroundings. Through career exposure and hands-on training, they're encouraged to think big, stay focused, and make positive choices. Founded by Nikisha Mama Boo Smith, who transformed her life to become a community leader. Live Your Life is changing lives, but they need your help. They're raising funds to keep their new building open and expand their program. Your donations will support food, clothes, hygiene products, and holiday giveaways. Visit liveyourlife32.com. That's LIVEYOLIFE32.com to help today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Barbecue season is back. Hey, it's Ellen.
And this is Sarah Beth.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that zesty barbecue sauce. I love that it was a little sweet, a little tangy, and with the mac and cheese.
I feel like I tasted the brown sugar bacon first. It was the absolute best combination. Pro tip, 3 sandwiches are always better than 1.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and a Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Beautiful indeed. Our remaining moments, Doc, I want to combine 2 things. We got Blessed Peacemaker in here. One of the things Blessed Peacemaker said, African Americans and Africans are facing the same evils. It's really important we all understand each other and love one another. Solidarity and kinship teach-ins get us understanding one to another. So as you respond to that, but he also is saying that some things we need to put some clarity on. He wants us to revisit Traore, that Rwanda's Kagame, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name right, but one of Rwanda's leaders was horrible. That there's a mix-up between this leader with Burkina Faso's Traore, who is a real Pan-Africanist like Patrice Lumumba. So he's saying that there's a kind of mix-up there between those leaders.
Well, I'll tell you, Lumumba set some of the highest standards in terms of his truth-telling and in terms of his seeking justice for his people. And anybody who comes close to the standards of Lumumba deserves our support and deserves our affirmation.
Okay. And one more point, Doc, Blessed Peacemaker is saying that Burkina Faso's Traore is the real Pan-Africanist in the tradition of Lumumba.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I think our brother is saying. And all I'm saying is that when you talk about Lumumba, who set such high standards, if the brother who he's talking about comes anywhere near Lumumba, that brother warrants our support.
Yeah, amen to that. And the point he made, Doc, about, the kinship and understanding our collective, really from a diasporatic, the Black diaspora lens, that we have to get understanding one for another, have solidarity one from another, and that teachings is a way to help us cultivate that.
Oh, he's absolutely right. Absolutely right. The solidarity's got to cut across national boundaries, got to cut across country lines. No doubt about that.
Why is that so hard, though? It seems hard for some people to grasp that.
I think it's hard for all of us because all of us in our local context have so much to deal with. So much. So they have to deal with the local context and then make the connection of local context in other countries and be honest in the solidarity and still be rooted in your local struggle in your own community and context. It's difficult, but it's imperative.
Yeah, difficult but imperative. Well, Doc, listen, we done taught that thing today. You talked about spiritual awakening, a moral or political courage, spiritual awakening, and a moral, what was that?
Renaissance.
Moral renaissance. We need that today. And Doc, my goodness, we didn't get to dandyism, but the Cliff Notes version is, baby, our style is all that. That's all you need to know. But go look at it. They had some fine suits and things on. Dr. West, I cannot believe it. It's our time again. We want our folks to live on purpose, live out their purpose, understand their purpose, but above all, understand that titles are good, but purpose is better. Until next time.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Worth $229 million. The Lakers are not obligated to give Doncic an extension. Doncic has 1 year left on his current contract that averages $53.7 million. The Lakers might want to see how Doncic is handling his offseason conditioning program before agreeing to give him an extension. One of the reasons Doncic is with the Lakers is because the Dallas Mavericks did not feel comfortable giving Doncic a super max extension worth $345 million. If Doncic was still with Dallas, he would have been eligible for that deal on August 2nd. Interesting development in the NBA playoffs. The road teams are 5-0 in the second round of the playoffs. Indiana, New York, Denver, and Golden State started their second round series with road wins. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. With so many shows on our station weekdays and weekends, it's hard for me to keep track of all the guests who are actually in studio on any given day. I wish I'd known in advance that LADA Nathan Hochman was coming in studio for a recent interview. Had I known, I would have loved to have personally greeted him and then asked him why LA City Council member Curran Price is being criminally prosecuted for allegations of misconduct similar to the conflict of interest violations for which former City Council member Kevin De Leon is only being fined. What's that about, Mr. DA? In fairness to Mr. Hochman, it was former DA George Gascon who actually filed felony charges